A number of federal laws, some state laws, and you could do some serious time in a federal penitentiary.
Ooh, bad girls you love to hate. Today on Judge Joe Brown.
Some bad checks create bad blood between friends. Factory laborer Teresa Carnes is suing her ex-best friend's daughter for giving her fraudulent checks. Defendant Ariel Rawls says the plaintiff asked her for loans. Now, here's Judge Joe Brown.
The allegation, ma'am, is that the defendant is liable to you for a very serious sum of money. You say you cashed on her behalf almost $5,000 in checks during the course of a month before you discovered that there was nothing to cover them. Then there was a check given to you by the defendant that was a bad check, that was supposedly her boyfriend's check to cover your losses. And then there's a small sum that you have been paid back. So you say you are now out of pocket about $4,650 thanks to the defendant. You first.
Well, Your Honor, it all started, I've known Ariel, her family, I've known her family for about 18 years off and on. I grew up with her mother and her aunt. It all started around March 31st, well actually before that, it started before that, when she came to me, and she's been telling everybody, as far as family-wise, that she had an inheritance from her grandmother, and that she just had to wait till she was 18 to be able to access her funds. When the time came, as far as her 18th birthday, she came to me and said, well, I got a couple fees and things that need to be paid as far as for her prom dress, and she had some other bills that needed to be paid as far as for her family, as far as cell phones and food and other things like that, of that nature. And she also gave me the story of her being pregnant. And I said, okay, well, this is unfortunate. She's 18. And I know how that situation was because I was a young mother myself. And so I listened to her story, and I said, okay, well, she said, well, unfortunately, though, she wasn't able to access her own account without her grandfather's consent, without his signature, but she needed help. But she said, well, I can access it through checks. I just can't go to the actual bank and withdraw the actual cash. I said, okay. She came to me, and I said, well, let me see if what I can do. I have an account, because she asked her aunt first, which is her mother's sister, to cash checks.
Aunt declined.
Yes. Said she didn't have the money. And that's when I was put in a situation of, well, why don't you ask your Auntie Teresa? And I said, well, okay, let me see what I can do to help you. So she came to me March 31st and presented the first check in the amount of $250. And then she presented me another one, I believe, same day, but in a different amount of $500. And asked me, again, to cash these checks for her due to the fact she has some cell phone bills.
$250 and $500, same day.
Yes. And said, well, I need a cell phone bill paid. They didn't have any food in the house, and there's quite a few children in there. So being the parent that I am, I didn't want to see the other kids going hungry.
Wait a minute. What other kids going hungry?
As far as her brothers, her sisters.
What about your friend, girlfriend, her aunt?
Well, her mother and her aunt didn't really have the finances to cover it because they were paying some bills.
Her mother couldn't cover it. What about your friend, her aunt?
She couldn't cover it either.
So she's going to help
together in
out
the same
her
house.
nieces and nephews.
Right, because they all...
How noble.
Well, they all live in the same house, and another part of the story was the fact that her aunt was supposed to be on the account with Ariel, and was the reason why, another reason she couldn't cash the checks is because her aunt was taking the money out and wasn't depositing anything back in it.
Well, how does the aunt get money out of a trust fund unless she is the trustee by drafts or checks drawn on that account without the signatory authority to do so? It doesn't make sense.
No, that's just the story I was given.
That's the story you're given.
Right.
Now, you know this family for 18 years.
Yes, sir.
You've known her and considered her a play niece for 4 years.
Yes,
since she's been 14. Now, what's wrong with this picture? Grandfather won't okay it. Mother is too broke busted. Aunt won't okay it. And you decide to help her get around her adult kin and their decisions relative to grandmother's estate. Why should I have a problem with that concept?
Well, I guess because...
In other words, your son is her age.
Yes.
You set something up so your close and personal friends decide to go behind your back and undo something that you set up through your will and defeat your purposes. What's wrong with that picture when the friend of the family is doing that?
A lot's wrong with it when you put it like that.
Yes, well, that's my problem. Why did you do it?
Well, due to the fact that, again, I felt close enough to them that, honestly, I didn't know...
How do you feel close enough to underparent the parental authority in the family? That's assuming that we actually have a trust. Do we have, in fact, a trust?
I honestly don't know, to my knowledge, no.
Well, what does it say on the checks, the instruments that you received from the defendant and purportedly deposited in your account to secure funds that you dispersed to her in cash? What does it say on those checks?
Insufficient funds.
No, what does the check
sorry.
say?
They just look like regular checks, Your Honor. They don't say trust
Let me
funds
see
or anything.
what it says.
I'm passing out all my evidence.
How in the world is she supposed to just turned 18, write money on checks on an account she has personally? Where's the trust? These things just indicate she can sign it on her own. There's nothing in there that dedicates any trustee or any executor has to go and deal with this. Any guardian's got to do anything with this. It's just a personal account.
Yeah, and I played the naive role on that.
We'll be right back with Judge Joe Brown.
So why do you write these checks to the plaintiff?
Because she asked me for loans.
Oh, her idea.
She told me that she needed to get her car fixed, and she said that she wanted to get
She
a cell
needed the
phone
money,
from
not
home.
you.
No.
We're back with Judge Joe Brown. The plaintiff in this case says her friend's daughter needed to access some money, so she used her account to cash checks for her. She says the checks came back insufficient, causing her account to be overdrawn. Let's take a look.
What have you got to say?
Well, Your Honor, all of that stuff that she just told you, all of that was false.
What about the checks I'm looking at? What are they? That false?
No, the checks are not false.
Ariel D. Rawls.
Yes.
They are processed. How did we come to have $4,650 worth of processed checks when we give you credit for what you paid her to reimburse her? Oh, and Navy Federal Credit Union. Keep going.
We were not hurting financially. My mother is an STNA. My mother is a certified STNA. My aunt, she's an STNA, and she deals with MRDD people.
Oh.
So we were not having trouble financially. We didn't.
So why do you write these checks to the plaintiff?
Because she asked me for loans.
Oh, it was her idea.
She told me that she needed to get her car fixed, and she said that she wanted to get
She
a cell
needed the
phone
money,
from back
not
home.
you.
No.
Well, is this a trust fund, or are these accounts? Is this the money in the account from a trust, or what?
It's money in the account from a trust fund.
You got $23,000 from your late grandmother.
Yes, I did.
Well, what does your grandfather have to do with this?
What does he have to do with it? Well, him and my grandmother set it up.
So, how are you supposed to get money out of the trust fund that your grandmother set up when your grandfather is the trustee or the administrator and he's not okaying it? How are you supposed to get money from the trust into your personal bank account?
My grandfather transferred everything over and put it in my name and took it out of his and my grandmother's.
He did?
Yes,
Why
he
did he do that? Since he'd have to get permission from the probate court to do it. So how does he manage to disperse it without the court's permission? And if he did, why do you need to go to her? Why can't you just go to your own bank with your own check, write it out, sign it, present your ID, and get your own funds out of your own bank account?
She never cashed those checks for me. She came to me asking me for
Oh,
loans.
you didn't get any of it?
No, I didn't.
Why
I
did
didn't
you
get anything
tender to her this check from your boyfriend?
from my boyfriend? Because she said that the checks had returned back insufficient funds.
Of course they did, because you couldn't have gotten any trust fund money because there is nothing that's deposited in your account, because if there was one, your grandfather couldn't disperse it to you without going back to court. So your boyfriend wrote a check for your benefit to give to the plaintiff
And that's a lie.
to do what?
To cover it up.
How much was it? Cover what up? You said the magic words, cover it up.
She came to me telling me that she owed the bank $4,000, and I couldn't understand why. Like I said, the first
What
two
happened to the
checks-
$4,000?
What happened to it?
Did you get any?
No, I didn't get anything.
Well, if you didn't get any, why did you present her with this check from your boyfriend to cover checks $4,600 some odd dollars worth with insufficient funds?
Because she said the checks had returned back.
Why did you have to get your boyfriend to give you a check if this is all a misunderstanding? You got $23K. Why don't you just put some of that ought to cover this?
I knew it was
Clifton J. Fuller,
Your Honor, may I say something?
in the sum of $5,000 to make her whole. Why do you need to make her whole with a $5K check from your boyfriend to cover what ought to have been satisfied by funds on account from the $23,000 trust fund that your grandfather dispersed to you?
Your Honor, that's not even his signature.
Hold on.
My account was frozen
Why was it frozen?
because my mother was taking money out of my account
How does your mother take money out of your account?
because she's on the account.
I don't see her on there. I see your name only. How about this one? She on this account?
No.
So what does your boyfriend do, the gentleman listed here, who tenders a $5,000 check? What does he do to be able to have that? For her? Or did he do this without you knowing it?
He didn't give her the check.
Who did?
I did.
Well, he wrote it, didn't he?
No,
Who wrote it?
I did.
So you forged it.
No, I didn't forge his signature at all.
Well, who did this?
I don't know, but it wasn't me.
You didn't sign it.
No, I didn't.
So you gave her the check. Your boyfriend didn't sign it, and you gave it to her. How did you? Who is this? Who did this? Who is this? And why are you lying to me?
I'm not lying to you.
Through your teeth.
I'm not lying at all.
The truth is not in you.
I'm telling you the truth.
We'll be back with more Judge Joe Brown in a moment.
Look at this known signature. Look at all these tall letters throughout the signature. Those aren't here in the question signature, are they? So it's obvious, Judge, that these signatures weren't written by the same person.
We're back with Judge Joe Brown. The defendant in this case says the plaintiff needed some help with bills, so she gave her some loans. When her checks were insufficient, she gave the plaintiff a replacement check from her boyfriend. Let's take a look.
Madam Salzer, come forward, please. Ms. Rena Salzer, would you please, for the record, for this matter, state what your business is?
I am a forensic document examiner.
Handwriting analyst, right?
That's right.
Would you tell us what you were charged with doing in this particular matter?
I was instructed to examine the question signature and compare it to the defendant's known signature. So-
$5,000 check we've seen
That's right.
displayed up
Exhibit
there.
A, please.
That one. Now, did you have a sample of the defendant's handwriting?
I did. So
Where-
here we have the questioned check. Exhibit B, please. This is the questioned signature from the check. And this is the known signature of the defendant's boyfriend. So, in order to conclusively identify 2 or more specimens of handwriting as having been executed by the same person, there has to be an absence of fundamental, unexplainable differences in combination with similarities in all important details. And as you can see, these signatures are very different. There are many fundamental, unexplainable differences between them because they're constructed differently. Look at this known signature. Look at all these tall letters throughout the signature. Those aren't here in the question signature, are they? And the letters O-N and E-R in the known signature are made with a wavy line. And in the question signature, those letters are distinctly formed, O-N-E-R, so that you can read them. So it's obvious, Judge, that these signatures weren't written by the same person.
All right. Now, do you have any idea who wrote the signature on the instrument in question?
Well, what's interesting about handwriting is that it's an ingrained habit. So it's extremely difficult for anyone to suppress their own writing habits when they're trying to copy someone else's. So that brings us to Exhibit D, please. So I compared the question signature to the defendant's known signature. And sure enough, her own writing habits appear in the question signature. Look at this. We have a circle over the I to dot it. We have a circle up there in the question signature as well. Look, we have these short, tightly looped L's in the defendant's known signature. Those are also here in the question signature. And look at how this R is formed right there. Look at this R. And the general slant is the same. And the general letter proportion is the same between the two. So, Judge Joe Brown, it's obvious that these were written by the same person.
Well, in other words, it's obvious that the defendant is a person that signed the instrument in question for $5,000.
You got it.
All right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Judge.
This is simply a minor twist on a scam we've had in here. See, it says Navy Federal Credit Union. What happens is when you deposit a check in a federal credit union, they give immediate credit for it, and the funds are available within 24 hours. It takes from 3 to 6 weeks for the fact that those checks are completely bogus to show up, and then they start debiting the account. You put it in and you tender the funds over to your accomplice. And what you do is you give her the cash, and see, the side story that is not true is that because it's federally insured and these checks are not good, your money will be restored. No, you got the money, you just have a debit in the account. So you went along willingly with her little plot, your mutual plot, and you both between you have broken a number of federal laws, some state laws, and you could do some serious time in a federal penitentiary. Have fun, you guys. Denied. Out of here. I hope you have a good time getting prosecuted. I intend to end the whole thing.
The defendant in this case was clearly taken aback when the judge presented her with a check from her boyfriend. She was vague or silent when asked about it. It is curious considering she said she was so secure financially. The judge believes that the plaintiff is also involved. The case is dismissed. We'll bear back. Handwriting expert shows it clearly. The defendant's behavior was even more telling. She denied signing that check but had no explanation for it. The judge says the plaintiff doesn't have clean hands either. The case is dismissed. For information on future cases or to contact this court, check out our website at judgejoebrown.com.